But you're in a max for. First of all, how was county jail? Like, is that does that
Fights and all that bullshit. Like everything in Oregon is a little less intense, especially than California. You know what I mean? So that's to my benefit. But yeah, you're still fading. You still have to fight when you get there. Some people are getting it when you get to.
They probably couldn't reach your face when they tried to fight you. I mean, they're fucking.
No, I got tuned up though. No, I got tuned up. The first fight I had was like I got my licks in, but I was definitely like my face was swollen up. I got.
You're tall as fuck. I was not expecting that.
This guy was big though. He was like 6'2", and he was a fucking skinhead. And we both hit the cell block at the same time. So it was like immediately like that's who you have to fight.
It's just a known thing.
Yeah, that's or else you're gonna get run off. Like you're gonna get beaten up, then you got to leave the cell block and go be with the fucking.
You guys like bump up before? I want a good clean fight, nothing below the waist.
Dude, we did after. We ended up becoming friends because we got shot to the same prison.
Oh, you went to the same max together?
Yeah.
At the same time, or
at the same time? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He was a lifer on the installment plan. He goes in and out.
On the installment plan?
Yeah. He comes in for 5, comes out, goes back in for 7.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So. Yeah, he's doing life. He's basically a lifer,
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But you do 7 months, 8 months in max.
Yeah.
How bad was that?
I mean, it's good and bad. It's good because the time passes because it's such a routine. Like county jail is like every day is a week. Every week feels like a month. Time goes by really fast in prison because it's just routine every day. It's like the military, But it was. I mean, there was a riot, there was stabbings, there was killings. Yeah. So, but that was probably where I decided I was like, I'm gonna move to LA. I want to be in show business, man. That was like where I was like, yeah, if I fucking make it out of this, dude, I'm going to go do something that I like for once.
Did you have anyone in there like encouraging you with that? Were they like Johnny, you're entertaining as fuck?
A lot of people, but I mean, maybe not as entertaining, but because like I was too scared. The funniest guys in there are the black people. Go figure. So I was always scared to like be the center of attention, but. People that knew me were like, "Oh yeah, he's a sharp guy." Like, being smart helps because it's like differentiates you, and they're like, "Don't fuck with the smart guy."
Right.
Like he's like, "This is college boy," So, but also Jimmy was the one who was like, "He's not affiliated. Don't touch him."
Oh, he protected you.
Yeah, bro. That guy ran the fucking yard we were on. So it's like, I talk about Jimmy again in the early Connect videos, and yeah, he's the guy that I that was like my fucking guardian angel, you know what I mean? So, but he was definitely like, that's like I admitted what I wanted to do. And I started doing talent shows in prison. So I would go down and it was like stand up almost, but it was like insult comedy. So I would they were like, go after us, go after the fucking blacks, go after, and it's, dude, if they recorded it, thank God nobody had smartphones back in the day in prison, dude, I would be fucked, bro. But that's just how everybody talked. Yeah. It was like if you didn't go hard, like you wouldn't get any laughs. and if your talent was like you sucked, like an old pedophile with a guitar would get up there and people would start throwing shit and like fights would break out.
They let the chomos do the talent show?
Yeah, but if you sucked, they would boo you off or they would beat you up. So it got to a point where like I did a few of these and I was just killing. I was like doing impressions of the guards. I was fucking insulting the shit out of people. And they'd be like, do my cousin next time you do that little talent thing you do, eh? And I'd be like, yeah, all right, let me go in. And so that was like the first, that was like the beginning, the genesis of like stand-up comedy. Even though I didn't even know, like, I knew nothing about stand-up back then. Like I wanted to be like an actor and a writer. And I was like, but
so you still weren't making the connection. You were,
still wasn't making the connection. So I thought I was like writing screenplays. I was like, yeah, I want to be like I want to make movies. That's what I wanted to do was make movies.
You could definitely do that because you're a great storyteller.
But I feel like now the industry's so fucked up. And even when I got to LA in 2012, I was like, oh damn, I've definitely missed the boat.
Even back then, you were saying
even back then, man. Yeah, like I haven't been ahead on many things, but I was ahead on looking at the end of the glory years of Hollywood. And I think that was like the last generation. Like The Wolf of Wall Street was 2012, 2013.
2013.
I feel like that was the beginning of the end, or a sayonara to the end, because yeah, really after that they weren't making any. You know, that was the beginning of Instagram.
Yeah.
That was really where like social media 2013,
Short
2014
form.
started to just completely absorb it. And I was like, yeah, I think this is like, where's the market going to go? Everything is decentralizing, you know?
Yeah.
So
It's a good call.
So that's why by 2019, 2020, if you were doing stand-up, you were like, nobody was even thinking about like getting television shows anymore. Nobody gave a fuck about that. It was like Rogan and podcasting, like that was it.
Well, they were ahead of the stand-up community was the most ahead of the curve on
Yes,
this shit.
absolutely. Because you have to be so entrepreneurial. It's like rap and then stand-up is are the most DIY, do-it-yourself kind of things. So, and now podcasting is going by the wayside, at least for stand-up comedy.
It's
Now
very saturated.
Now it's all short-form shit. You see these fucking unfunny bitches, you know, one of them in New York who I'm thinking of, but she does these really, really funny, just like I'm toxic. She makes content for like Gen Z women. And honestly, she's so popular though, she pops up in my feed. I've seen her do stand-up though. It, you know, she's not there yet, but we wish her well. We wish her well.
Wish her well.
But she makes like these funny sketches and they're for a niche, and that's it. And like, who cares? Like, who cares about being mass popular anymore? It's like she's speaking for a demographic, and you're gonna eat very well off that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone, and I mean, it happens over and over again throughout humanity. When something goes right, everyone runs to exactly what that is, right? And that's what you didn't do. You're like, yo, I'm funny as fuck. I'm a stand-up comic, but I'm not gonna go do just the main stand-up comic thing. I'm gonna use my life experience, my connections, no pun intended, and I'm gonna go make something where I can melt my comedy into something that's gritty and niche that people want and aren't getting enough of.
Exactly. And thank you. And so now I'm trying to find that next thing that's different. But now, thanks to this podcast and the glory of God, because he really threw us a bone there. Now I have the resources to where like I can just go kind of have fun. Like I can just do shit because it's fun. That's a big value. Just
That's
being able
huge.
to do
That's
shit.
freedom, bro.
That's real freedom. And that's if you're, because I look at these people that have so much money, in show business, comedians, and it's never enough. So I don't want to fall into that mental trap again. 'Cause I remember how in the drug game, that was like, I didn't feel free, even though I had so much money for being a fucking kid, and I didn't feel free, and I never got to enjoy it. You look at these drug kingpins, you think Mencho is free? You think, what's his name? Ignacio Osaguero? You think he's a free guy? He has to be surrounded by fucking private armies, and he has to live in the deepest mountains of Michoacan. He's not free.
No.
He has all the money in the world. So that's what I'm determined to not fall into that. I mean, I want to keep, obviously I love making money, and I want to keep like expanding whatever enterprise is next, but it's got to be, well, hopefully it's doing something that's authentic and that I love to do.
Well, that's key. People can read through that in a second when you're not doing it. You know what I mean? But it sounds like you're starting to see the light at that tunnel of where that freedom could be. And that's great because you've also, like, not for nothing, but as you're saying, you've experienced it where you didn't hit the chute. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And get out. So you have an extreme life experience that has hopefully now taught you that lesson that other people who are on their legal journey, right? Like it's like a stand-up comic or something, can't understand because they've never had that moment. So it's like, oh, well, now I'm at, selling out fucking 40 shows a year in stadiums. I'm making $7 million, but man, I would feel a lot better if I was making 11 and I could get that private jet. There's always something they step up to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw that when I worked on Wall Street and I saw these ultra rich people. And I'm a simple guy, right? And the clients that didn't even necessarily have the most money, but they all had a lot of money, but like less than others. the ones who just lived a happy life and had Friday fucking pizza and the family and
Yeah.
never called up to bitch about their nephew who wanted fucking 30 grand for his stupid new goddamn ecom business, like they were the happiest people.
Yeah.
And I was like, there is something to be said for that because they
For
could have gotten a lot more, but they got enough.
Right. Damn, dude. Enough. Yeah. I don't have enough yet. But I'm hoping, that's why I'm really hoping that this Bitcoin narrative is true. Like I'm hoping, these propagandists, these all the hype videos that are just like number go up. This is digital energy. This is digital property. Because then the money you make, you can really like keep, and it's not getting debased. So it's like you don't have to keep making money. The idea is to make money and then not have to make it anymore because it's very hard to make money. So it's like once you make it, it's wealth now because you're in this asset and it builds and it carries over. So I'm really hoping that's true.
I hope for you it's true.
Thanks, but you too, dude.
Yeah.
You're a hodler.
We're working on it. Yeah. But what's the, have you done stories, going back to some of the cartel stuff, have you been working on stories where you're uncovering, say, the unholy alliance with intelligence and some of these groups personally?
No, I haven't personally uncovered any of that. I think everybody kind of knows it already.
Of course.
Gafe is the closest one. He's the one that experienced it when he was working in special forces. But we talked to people like we were in this state of Coahuila, which is on the east coast of Mexico. Not the east coast, but it's sandwiched between Tamaulipas, Nuevo León, and some other states, and it was where the Zetas really that was their stronghold. Mm-hmm. And so we've talked to a number of guys that fought the Zetas that remember the Zeta Wars very vividly, and they were like, "Oh yeah, definitely Americans. School of the Americas taught these guys directly, like American military generals at the School of the Americas and sometimes in Mexico taught people who became." Like the Taliban of Mexican drug cartels.
That's
wild, bro. Wild. And America's done that all over the world.
And you wonder, and you're never going to know, you wonder what the trade-off is there. How many lives did they save doing that versus the lives that they ended by training it?
Yeah, for sure. And what is the point? Like, some of it seems so dubious. Like, just because you want us to fight anti-communists, that's why America for decades funded... worked with Felix Gallardo and the Guadalajara cartel, and they, this is a whole trope in the show Narcos.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying anything new, but yeah, you're like, was that really worth it just to get guns to Nicaragua?
Dumb.
Who gives a shit about
dumb.
Nicaragua? But also, it's like, what? It's like Nicaragua, Higgins-Ragua. Sorry, that's a real callback. Nicaragua. You can't say Nicaragua. You got to say Nicaragua.
Don't do the Theo Vaughn, please.
So, Higgins, bro. I cannot hear the words Higgins anymore. Was that a worthy trade-off? It's. Do you know what it is though? And I really do think that is it's one of the consequences of like fiat money, like being the empire that can print the money. There's so much slosh and waste in these budgets of the military. They've got to go somewhere. So that they just create these problems because they're like, everybody's getting paid, and if we don't use the budget, next year it won't be there. So we just got to spend, and that's why they come up with all these like proxy wars and like, why would anybody be doing this? It's because energy has to go somewhere.
Yeah,
that's kind of how I see it.
People get like on like the Bitcoin maxis and stuff for just making every goddamn thing about fiat and printing or whatever. But like money, it's like the most obvious thing. But the other people who detract from that want to ignore this. Money is what runs every fucking decision in some level that's made in the world.
Right.
You know, I used to have this thing I would ask clients when I worked on Wall Street. I'm like, what are the two most important things in your life? And usually they'd say some version of like health and family. Health and family. And I'd say, money pays for both.
Yeah.
And it sucks. I hate that.
Yeah.
But like that's a very real thing.
100%.
And so you see something like Mexico and where it's gotten with cartels. Well, why did all that start? It started from economic inopportunity. Mm-hmm. And then guys who were going to seal the vacuum in that void.
Yeah.
And that's the story around the world.
But countries that have to balance their budget because they know if they print money, like their currency will lose 50% of its value. Venezuela, you look at the stock market. Stock market's doing great because you need like 100 million bolivars to get a cup of coffee. You know what I mean? So there's real consequences for everybody besides us when it comes to printing money. So they're literally like, countries around the world are like, if we want to go to war, if we want to fund military shit, it has to come from taxes. And therefore, if we don't have enough taxes, we just can't do this. Whereas, like, we don't even have to think about that. It's a brilliant kind of Ponzi scheme.
So you can make that argument.
It's fucking sick.
Yeah. When you really look at the Fed and how it's done here,
Yeah.
it's like, how's that? It's legalized ultra taxation.
Right. Every
Like
time,
just mathematically.
it's a tax. Inflation is just a tax, and you don't vote on it, but you pay for it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like that until like what, 1914 or something like that.
Yeah, there's way better people than me to comment on that. I mean,
I believe it was 1914. What
was 1914?
1914 was when basically the U.S. took over the responsibility of safeguarding people's gold. It's when Britain broke its economy, when they broke off from, it was there 1971, but that was really the beginning of the fiat currency era, and then it went crazy after Nixon and the gold standard of 71. But it began in 1914 when we gave a bunch of like credit swaps. Let's just read about it. Yeah. AI can tell you better.
In 1914, the United States took significant steps to safeguard its gold reserves. This was largely due to the Federal Reserve System's establishment and the start of World War I in Europe, so we took advantage of that.
Right.
Federal Reserve Act of 1913, this act established the Federal Reserve System to stabilize the financial system and address banking prices. Gold standard and Federal Reserve notes. The U.S. used a full gold standard with paper currency convertible to gold coin. The Federal Reserve notes needed to be backed by at least 40% gold. And then World War I and increased gold holdings. The outbreak of World War I in Europe led to a financial crisis and increased the amount of gold flowing into the United States. That makes sense, because we didn't get involved until 1917. This increased the Federal Reserve's gold holdings, which could be used as reserves. And this is the part I have learned more about from other people telling me about this on the podcast, but you had two events. So you've been mentioning the Nixon one. That's like the big line in the sand because it takes us off the gold standard. But back when the Great Depression happened and FDR had to come in and do like the New Deal, there was something, I forget what it was, but there was something in there.
Oh, he devalued gold.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. He reset the price on gold to like help the economy at the time. But that's just kicking the can down the road.
He did that, and then he actually made it illegal to own gold, which I don't know what effect that had. But abandoning the gold standard, Executive Order in 33 to address the economic crisis, FDR issued Executive Order 6102, which prohibited private ownership of gold coins, bullion. So imagine that. Imagine how crazy that is. It's illegal to have gold. Imagine they did that now. That's nuts.
I'm fucked.
Yeah, dude.
I'm on camera.
Yeah. Dude, those Cubans in Miami are fucked, dude. Yeah.
Jesus.
You might as well say fuck Italians and Cubans.
Just New Jersey and Florida.
Yeah.
Report to jail.
Puerto Rico's going to get a lot of fucking emigrants, dude.
There's... Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.